Welcome to Urbane Legends, the podcast about urban legends and how to act in a courteous and refined manner, but much less about that. Here's your hosts, Neil and Chris.
Hello and welcome to Urbane Legends, the podcast about urban legends. And this week we're not going to look at any etiquette because A, I haven't bothered to look any up, and B, we are trying to slowly move away from that because the joke has worn thin.
I think it was worn as
we were
atom thick about a third episode in, correct?
We were contractually obliged to do that so that we could use the pun to differentiate ourselves from other podcasts about urban legends. But now that contract has been sated. I am seashell artist Chris Flynn, and with me is star of the new hit History 2 channel's Train Detective, which is like True Detective, but it's an anthology series about crimes on trains. It is Mr.
Neil Herbert.
Hi, Neil. Did you want when's this going to be on, this new anthology series that you're starring in as a grizzled detective?
I mean, I'm not sure, Chris. It was just a pilot episode, so it's being touted around. Apparently, I don't necessarily have the natural charisma of Matthew McConaughey.
I don't agree with that.
I find that a bit. I find
a
little bit insulting.
I find his charisma a bit obvious.
Overrated.
Absolutely. But you do look like you're going to see like Woody Harrelson, so does that not help?
Yeah. and I'm as articulate as a character he played in Cheers, so I think there's enough connections there that, frankly, it should. But early days, we'll town it around. I think,
Okay.
Let's try and get a bit of a campaign behind it, release the pilot.
Everyone. Hashtag Train Detectives, hashtag Neil Herbert. So hopefully we'll get all our followers, our 2 or 3 listeners, to really jump on board with that.
I mean, it's a great concept. You go around on rails, just very slowly solving crime.
I think it is quite a good concept because if you go through real train mysteries, there's some quite famous moiders that happened in the Victorian
on the Orient
times.
Express, for example.
Well, yeah, that was an Agatha Christie one, and who doesn't want a whole series of that? But there's also there used to be that when the train line was first built from London down to Brighton, then there was a series of murders because when the trains went into the tunnels, it was just completely pitch black for a few minutes, and then when they came out, like someone would have their throat slit. And I'm not sure if they were solved, but I mean that could be one of your train detective stories, couldn't it?
You're going to get a bit samey, I think, but yeah.
Well, not that one every time. I mean, that would be one episode. Obviously, you could, I don't know, have one. I mean, that's the only. Well, no, that's not true. I was going to say that's the only train crime I know of, but I see crimes on trains all the time.
There's been at least 2 great train robberies, to my knowledge.
Yeah, but were they on the train? I suppose it doesn't matter. It involves a train.
Yeah, they break onto the train and stole some.
There we go.
Stole some jewels or some other form of
currency.
Valuables.
Stamps. They used to stealing stamps a lot, didn't they? Bonds, war bonds, that kind of thing.
Anything to get their hand on.
Yeah.
It's just an absolute riot in the 60s. Just constantly break into trains, just stealing stuff.
There must
be.
Well, I'm assuming that the writers of your series...
Free time then, Chris.
It was a freer time.
Age of Aquarius and all that.
Yeah, absolutely. And the good thing is that all the people from the 60s then bought their council houses under Thatcher and then pulled the ladder up from behind them and went, oh, what's hippie?
We all would have done too, if they had the opportunity.
Yeah, maybe not. Sorry, just having a sip of coffee. So, For today's episode, we are going to look at an American urban legend, and I will try and not do a terrible Louisiana accent during it. But
Agent style.
But I do declare that may not be personal, yeah?
That feels more, I don't know. Louisiana, I was thinking, yeah, I'm not going to attempt a Louisiana accent. Okay,
well, you were going to be more Gambit from X-Men, weren't you? And say, like,
I'm vaguely familiar with this character. Isn't his two things? He's like immortal when he plays cards or something.
He's not immortal, but he throws playing cards that explode.
I saw there was a really terrible. I don't really know the character that well, but I saw there was a. You know that Hugh Jackman, he did all them Wolverine movies, but then he did the ones that were like solo, that were really sort of like.
Yeah,
I assume he was contractually obliged to do them.
I don't know that he was contractually obliged. I think he was financially incentivized.
Yeah, well, I mean, 6 of one, half dozen the other, innit? But yeah, because I mean, like the ensemble movies are quite good. It's quite good.
Yes,
but,
right, yeah.
Well, it was just one. I can't remember if it's the same movie actually. Well, I'll tell you what, because it's got Will.i.am in it, and good Lord, Will.i.am is not a good actor.
Doesn't have to be. He's a fantastic musician.
Exactly.
And prophet,
he's got that much talent.
And entertainer, and shoe designer, probably. You know, he's a Renaissance man.
Yeah, he's a man of many talents. But
acting not being one of them. Unless he was acting badly on purpose to bring attention.
Do you reckon it was like he was channeling like Bertolt Brecht, and he was attempting to distance us from, he's showing the deliberate artifice of this comic book movie and asking us to reflect on the actual message behind the art.
Yeah, and perhaps about
he's done it again, hasn't he?
I think he's done it again. And perhaps
he's good. He's good.
Perhaps he was also turning a microscope onto lack of diversity in Hollywood. I think he could have been.
Yeah. And that would be why they had the really appalling CGI where it looked like cartoons were coming out of his fists when Wolverine did his blades. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all very Brechtian. Yeah.
You're not writing realistic characters for people from different ethnic groups. You're making them cartoon-like. But that's what they're doing. Yeah, it's always been Hollywood's big shame.
Wasn't there an Irish X-Man or what it was called? It was called Banshee, and he was just drunk or something. I've seen it somewhere.
I don't know if it was
Banshee or Leprechaun or something.
There is Leprechaun.
We had a drinking problem. Seriously, there's one called Leprechaun.
I think so. I'm not going to look it up. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, though, that the X-Men in general were kind of a bit more socially conscious than other superhero stuff.
It was sort of a parallel for, I assume, civil rights.
It was, yeah, entirely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a shame that the X-Men and the rest of the Marvel Universe do kind of live in different fantasy universes, so they can't really be in any of the MCU stuff particularly. So, today we are going to be looking at the Louisiana werewolf, also known as Rougarou. So, Neil, does that excite you? You do like your animal-man hybrids?
I do. It's so this is based around Louisiana, isn't it? So it's like a sort of
the Laurentine
French-American kind of mashup.
Yeah, the Laurentine French communities. Yeah.
No, any kind of like man-animal hybrid.
One, do you know what? I feel like this is one which has increased in popularity because I've seen it in a few different bits and bobs recently. And prior to the last few years, I'd never heard of it. So I think someone, perhaps the Rougarou elders, are pushing it, trying to get it a bit more known.
Well, I reckon they've probably seen all of that, sweet, sweet Twilight money that's got all the vampire community enriching themselves. And they're thinking, hang on a second, because they've got like werewolves and that, haven't they? But they're getting none of that coin.
No,
they're thinking, well, we want a bit of this action.
Famously, the film American Werewolf in London poured so much money into the werewolf community in London that they were able to build Canary Wharf.
Yeah, that's Canary Wharf, and that's why Notting Hill became so gentrified. It's all of that,
Rich was
werewolf money.
So, Rougarou. So, I'm going to read a bit of Wikipedia, and then we can go into some of the more speculative, I guess, websites. So, in American folklore,
the more boldly explorative,
boldly exploitative,
yeah, probably.
So, Rougarou represents a variant pronunciation and spelling of the original French loup-garou. According to Barry Jean Ancelet, an academic expert on Cajun folklore and professor at University of Louisiana at Lafayette in America, the tale of the Rougarou is a common legend across French Louisiana. Both words are used interchangeably in southern Louisiana. Some people call the monster Rougarou and others refer to it as loup-garou. I mean, generally what I like to do if I'm writing something is try and bring people in with the first sentence, but this one is just going on about etymology. The Rougarou legend has been spread for many generations, either directly from French settlers to Louisiana, New France, or via the French-Canadian immigrants centuries ago. In the Cajun legends, the creature is said to prowl the swamps around Acadiana and Greater New Orleans, and the sugarcane fields and woodlands of the regions. The Rougarou most often described as a creature with a human body and a head of a wolf or dog, similar to the werewolf legend.
I mean, it's very much like, it's Cajun thing, isn't it? It's like gumbo, just throw anything into the pot.
Yeah.
Have a wolf head, wolf going around.
I think the thing, so far, because the thing which is scary about a werewolf is the fact that it's kind of got half wolf, half human body as well, hasn't it? Because if it was just a bloke with a human body and a head of like a dog, I don't know that I'd be that scared of him.
Well, a lot of these classic...
Depends what dog. Like the head of a Dulux dog or something, an old English sheepdog, then it'd be lovely, wouldn't he?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly what kind of dog. Or if it was like one of those like little chihuahuas or something, then that'd just be like it'd be like LB, wouldn't it? It'd just be inspiring pity, really.
Yeah, it looked like one of the Goombas from the Mario Brothers film, which you so highly rate.
Well, I think that it's one of Bob Hoskins' better performances, but I don't say that,
You're a big fan of the Hosk. Don't hassle the Hosk, that's what you always say.
Fantastic actor. No, well, it's one of the more interesting video game adaptations, shall we say it like that, but it's not to say it's good, but, I mean, it's not got a lot of competition, let's face it. Have they ever made a decent movie out of a video game? Not that you should try.
Has anyone ever done that, did you say?
Yeah.
Mortal Kombat?
Give that a firm no.
I think the problem with doing that is that because film people can't really get their head around video games or video game culture, what they tend to do, they just assume that people who play video games are basically teenage boys, which, may have been the case in 1990, but certainly isn't the case now. But they still have that in their head, so they just do sort of violent or sexy films, basically.
Yeah, I can see that being the case like a few years back. I just think it's just basically the writing of most of those things isn't necessarily going to translate very well into a film. But yeah, I don't know. There might be a good one out there, but I can't really think of an example off the top of my head. But to come back to your earlier point, because if you think about those classic kind of like, I was thinking of like Hammer horror villains or whatever. So you've got like Dracula and like the Wolfman and stuff like that, or werewolves. So if you think of like zombies are about our fear of death, and vampires is more of like an erotic vibe going on. I think with with werewolves or this kind of thing, it's probably more of a fear of, man's bestial nature or something, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you think about what it's metaphorically trying to represent. It's the kind of animal instincts or the evil that lurks within.
Well, I think also that there is that. There is also, or there was in medieval Europe, very much a legitimate fear of wolves because they would like come in your house and snatch babies and stuff.
And rabies is probably more of an issue. I wonder if that's got anything to do with it. Complete speculation.
Possibly. Often the storytelling has been used to inspire fear and obedience. Oh, another one of them. Do you know what now? I'm starting to see a bit of a pattern here that a lot of these scary tales and legends are used to get kids to shut up and go to bed.
Well, it's just something's got to work, isn't it?
They didn't have cowpole back those days.
No, exactly. Use whatever they can get.
One such example is stories that have been told by elders to persuade Cajun children to behave. That's a weird sentence. According to another variation, a wolf-like beast will hunt down and kill Catholics who do not follow the rules of Lent. I mean,
I'll be honest with you. If you're a Catholic, you've got enough stuff to feel guilty about and enough sort of fucking emotional pressure. You really need guru as well getting involved.
Well, apparently this coincides with the...
I mean, isn't eternal damnation enough? You've got to get fucking murdered up by a wolf man first.
Yeah, so you get eternal damnation straight away. You can't even enjoy, eating bread during April or whatever. So this coincides...
Just a filet fish, Jesus. I thought that was all right. That was in the rules.
Yeah, what's your problem? Why don't why have you made McDonald's so big if I'm not allowed to eat a fillet of fish? Well, because the clown made the deal with the devil.
It's your choice, my son. Off the hell you go.
Look, I'll be honest with you. I am God, but to be honest, I am a trickster God. I know that that's more of a pagan thing, but if you look at what I do to kind of set you up to fail, then I am pretty much a trickster God.
You're just sort of bored. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. All right, you can't eat this. Here's 1 million of this in front of you. So this coincides with the French Catholic Loup-garou
sorts out the wheat from the chaff
stories.
Anyway,
according to which the method for turning into a werewolf is to break Lent 7 years in a row. That's bollocks because I'm not a Loup-garou.
But then you've never taken the sacrament, so you're already marked for hell.
Am I marked for hell? Because
only us Catholics. Oh yeah, you're going straight to fucking hell.
No, but am I, Neil? Because I've not even been baptised or confirmed, so it's technically I'm not even on the books. So,
oh, you are. I mean, if you've ever read Dante, I mean, you might get away if you, for ignorance, you might end up in the first circle with Plato and.
I hope you're right.
Yeah,
they sound.
They didn't seem to suffer too much.
Wow,
that was nice of them, wasn't it? Just
what do you do?
Just at a very high level of hell. I think I just seem to knock about in the gateway to hell. Really,
yeah, that sounds all right.
Just going, all that philosophising. Wish we'd done a bit more praying of something that didn't exist 1,000 years after we'd been born. I mean, technically, I suppose they could have,
Well, no, technically they could have
anything or something. But then that would have been only in the oral tradition at that point. I don't think they set it down until anyway. Whatever.
Well, I mean, basically, what's happening there is you're punished for living far away from the Holy Land, aren't you? Because it's not like there's lightning quick communication back then. I mean, by the time someone had codified it all, how long is it going to take them to get it to? I don't know. The Aboriginal people of Australia.
I don't know. Were the Atlanteans knocking around then?
Neil,
I assume they had some sort of.
Is that in the Old Testament?
Mobile phone technology.
The angels probably. Do you know what? The angels could have sorted this out, but no, they're too busy.
Yeah.
I don't know. Whatever angels do, tit about.
And Mary knows that she's going to have a baby.
That's it.
As Jerry Sadowitz put it, he's fucking carpenter and he hasn't got the brains to look in the cupboard.
So, a common blood-sucking legend says that rougarous are You're under the spell for 101 days. After that time, the curse is transferred from person to person when a rougarou draws another human's blood. During a day, the creature returns to a human form. Although acting sickly, the human refrains from telling others the situation for fear of being killed. Other stories range from the rougarou as a rabbit to the...
That really puts me in mind. It's obvious for that.
Yeah, Donnie Darko. To the rougarou being derived from witchcraft. In the latter claim, only a witch can make a rougarou, either by turning into a wolf herself or by cursing others with lycanthropy. Ooh. So that's your basic rougarou. But from what I have read, there is some Native American stuff around it as well. So that's...
Okay, yeah, because at the moment it just seems like it's got a real kind of like so it's coming from that loup-garou thing. So a lot of it does feel like sort of French folklore, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know. Where do werewolves come from? Is that
Central Europe, French? You'd imagine, wouldn't you?
I don't know. Yeah. I wonder what the I wonder if it is rabid dogs and stuff. I reckon vampires. There is a I don't know how true this is, but it's supposedly partly to do with Vlad the Impaler, isn't it? And then partly to do with people who had xenopigmentation. I can't. Or, pigmentosa or something. There's basically a disease that means you can't go out in the sunlight. Although I would imagine it's incredibly rare. So truly, how much of an influence that has, I don't know. People mention it and sort of, but yeah, I don't know what would kind of like be behind the whole werewolf thing. It's being attacked by rabid dogs, I guess.
So I'm going to read a bit cool. It's from a website called Where Yat. So where
is that a pun in the website title? As in werewolf?
No, it's a website which gives it tells you about dining, music, entertainment, and the best of the Big Easy.
Oh,
so where yeah, kind of thing.
New Orleans culture, nice.
So, don't go too deep into the dark woods or wetlands in Cajun country at night. You might find yourself face to face with a tall, terrifying, bloodthirsty creature called the rougarou. Stalks through the sugarcane fields, looking for prey, tearing his victims apart, drinking their blood, and turning them into unworldly beasts as well. Even if you don't believe that he's real, you may want to take precautions, stay out of his way. See, I love New Orleans is would you say it's the spookiest city in America? Because there's a lot of vampire stuff. There's obviously the voodoo. Do you think?
Yeah,
I don't think there's... It seems to be the most mythologized or myth-heavy city in America.
You've probably got the more interesting myths. I'm trying to think of a sort of what else would sort of compare.
Well, Los Angeles is just serial killers.
Yeah, no, exactly.
There's lots of kind of...
Well, also, Los Angeles doesn't really have...
It's about 100 years old,
kind
isn't
of
it?
like West Coast is only, sort of... Yeah, they're not... I mean, the gold rush and stuff goes back to mid-19th century, I guess. But it's not quite got the same level of history as like Louisiana.
No, they're just like people in tents. So you'd imagine they're... I don't know. There's something about Louisiana. Maybe it's because it's right dune south. Maybe it's... because it's in like the
I think it's the mixture
swamps.
of different kind of like cultures.
And it's a mixture,
as well.
It's kind of a hodgepodge of cultures. And it's kind of got the bayous and stuff around it, which are pretty inhospitable, aren't they? You'd imagine it's quite... I know like New Orleans is a city now, fine, but you'd imagine that it's like there's, lots of fucking snakes and alligators and shit everywhere as well. Quite a dangerous place.
Yeah, when you're out and kind of like it was all sort of like a lot more rural and kind of like I think that really would be quite. Do
you know what? It's
a vocative landscape.
I call it the East Anglia of America.
Oh right, you mean like kind of like misty kind of
lots of water,
swampy kind of places? Yeah.
So the story of the Rougarou, also as known as the Loup-Garou, is not unique to southern Louisiana. It seems to have travelled from France to anywhere French people settled. Loup is a French word for wolf, and garou comes from the Frankish word garulf, which also means wolf. So it's wolf. The menacing...
Oh, fair enough. Sounds a bit tautology.
The menacing half-human, half-animal mythical beast appears in French lore beginning in the Renaissance period, perhaps even sooner. Naughty children or Catholics who didn't practice Lent for 7 consecutive years might find themselves turned into one. Of course, those who didn't believe that the Loup-Garou is real merely said that these were fables made up to scare people into behaving. When the Loup-Garou... I mean, one thing which I'll say, from what I've seen on such TV shows as Cajun Justice, which is following...
that sounds promising.
It's following Louisiana police who police like the bayous. It follows them round. There are some characters down there, Neil, I can tell you. But people...
Any moonshine?
Oh, people are just off their faces the whole time.
I would hope and expect.
Drugs, moonshine, smugglings. It is very much like the song Amos Moses by Jerry Reed.
Oh, brilliant.
But it's weird. I like these weird places. I'd quite like to go there. Just have a look at.
No, I would very much like to visit New Orleans and then just around that kind of those parts of Louisiana. Anyway, I just think it'd be really interesting. Obviously, music's a big draw. Yeah.
You see, I've always wanted to go to New Orleans, but I do wonder now that I don't drink, like, would it be a bit shitter? Because I think always in your mind you've got, well, they just drink whiskey all the time and listen to music. I'm sure it'd still be okay. I need to change my mindset on that. But it's still very much something which people believe in down there and say that they've seen, and the police get called out, like, for sightings and that kind of stuff. So this is a living kind of legend that's kind of still going on now. When the Loup-Garou travelled to southern Louisiana with the Acadian people who were exiled from French Canada, its name evolved into Rougarou, though you might hear him called both. It's also been noted that he isn't strictly a werewolf-type entity. It can shapeshift into any animals that calls the bayou home. Laura McKnight wrote about the Rougarou for Houma Today and recounted a tale that appeared in 1971 Louisiana Folklore Society publication, where the Rougarou appears as a calf struck by a motorist on the highway, and when the driver got out of his vehicle, the calf had vanished, and an uninjured man, apparently a Rougarou, was walking away from the spot where the creature was hit. That's just what was the end game there?
Don't run down Rougarou; they're becoming increasingly rare. I mean, how often do you run into a Rougarou these days?
Well, I mean, it just sounds like probably this person thought it was a calf, but it was just a bloke having a kip on the road, and he just got up and walked off. I mean, it sounds like everyone in this situation was drunk. So the mythical creature doesn't seem to be as violent as your run-in-the-mill werewolf from the silver screen. It prefers to wreak havoc by destroying property or passing its curse onto someone else so that it will leave them. A Vermilionville information pamphlet for children reads, the legend says that when a person comes into contact with the Loup-Garou and sheds the blood of the beast, the Loup-Garou will then change into its human form and reveal its secrets. The victim then becomes a Loup-Garou for 101 days. If the victim speaks the encounter to anyone, it becomes a Loup-Garou. But if it remains quiet about it, he returns to human form and continues on with its life. So if he says, oh, by the way, I'm Loup-Garou, then it just instantly turns into it. So in the legend...
Yeah, how does that work? So is that the victim that turns into the...
it doesn't turn the person it's telling. So basically you can't say that you're a Loup-Garou because otherwise... Because if you say I'm Loup-Garou, then you turn into it. So you've just got to keep stum for 101 days until the curse passes.
Oh, so this is when you're... This is when you're in your human form, is it?
I would assume so.
I mean, they sound a lot like 60s rock stars at the moment, to be honest with you. Destruction of property, especially. I mean, because they're not sort of like, they're not sort of attacking people, are they? They're just kind of like tearing stuff up and having a bit of pie.
Well, I think it depends on who you ask. So here we go. Human forms in life. In the legends, the Rougarou is said to be someone the victim knows, such as a jealous former friend. Like many creatures at night, it resumes its human form when the sun comes up. There are, Neil, ways to protect yourself from becoming a Rougarou. Apart, we're obviously be a good Catholic. The beasts don't seem to be the brightest beings, Rockstar again, and they can be easily outsmarted. You only need...
Oh, I don't know. Has anyone IQ tested one of these?
Well, I mean, IQ tests...
Unsubstantiated
IQ tests have kind of been shown to be a bit of a false test anyway.
Yeah, okay, well, from that...
And interestingly, the IQ scale is called the Flynn scale, after my surname. After I got over 5,000 on the IQ test, proving once and for all that it was pointless. No, the kind of the bell curve of where the average IQ is, because that moves. That was the formula or whatever for that was done by someone Flynn in the 1920s or something.
Because I was thinking it would be Neil Flynn from Scrubs, but evidently not, because I don't think he was around in the 20s.
Oh, was he? Does he play the prick?
He's the
right, yeah, that's him. Yeah. So you only need to lay 13 small objects like coins or beans at your door and windows, and the approaching Rougarou will attempt to count the objects, but he can't count higher than 12.
Well, it's because he's not got enough. He's not got enough fingers on his paws, or whatever you call
He
them.
will be unable to count all the objects, which will confound him to the point where he won't stop trying to count them all. He'll be so distracted that he won't be able to enter your home, and he has to leave with the sunrise.
Don't sing 99 bottles of beer on the wall at a Louisia. I'll get really
just imagine it going, crying.
I can't conceive of anything that high.
Oh, I feel sorry for him now.
What is bottle?
What is love? Not everyone down the bayou is convinced that the Rougarou exists. Oh, no shit. They may believe, however, in the power that legend holds over those who do. Knight explains, the creature has even embedded itself in local lingo. When Juliet Harry of Houma spends a restless night tossing and turning in her bed, she tells people, I made the Rougarou all night. Like a lot of Terrebonne and Lafayette.
I mean, that feels like a piece of slang that could be used to...
A lot of things.
For many things, yeah.
A lot of Terrebonne and La Fourche residents, like a lot of them, Henry grew up hearing older family members use the phrase. And now her own children make the Rougarou on sleepless nights too. Some locals also use the word to describe a person who carouses at night, roaming in a rowdy fashion. Faré Loup-garou or Faré Rougarou means you stay.
So that's to make Loup-garou.
Yeah, it means...
Or fair. Is that faré or fair?
Fair.
Fair is French.
Okay, fair. Yeah, okay, fair.
But fair Loup-garou to make the Loup-garou.
Yes, it means to stay up at night and run around causing disturbance, according...
Well, that's a good one. Try that next time in Paris. See if they understand. What's the city of culture?
Fair Loup-garou.
Yeah, it's just, that'll be my explanation to the cast. Fair Loup-garou. Yes. Let's go straight to the shoe-in, shall we, Arsenal?
If you want to go hunting for Rougarou, you can start by visiting the life-size Rougarou at the Audubon Zoo in New Orleans, which has been thrilling and chilling visitors for decades. Sure it hasn't. You can also celebrate the beast at Rougarou Fest in Houma in late October. The brave at heart enter the Rougarou costume contest. Of all the strange things...
How is that brave? How is that brave, entering a costume?
Well...
I mean, it'd be, it would be creative and skilled, I'm sure.
Well, I guess it'd be brave because...
Is it because you're imitating the creature?
You see, you're thinking that, and I think that's probably what they meant. I was thinking that it's quite brave to kind of dress up like an idiot and kind of parade in front of people. Like,
I imagine that feels like a very New Orleans kind of thing to do.
Well,
it's a bit like Brian, like that. You could just, I don't think anyone would bat an eyelid.
But this is in Houma, which is a bit more in the swamps.
I was sitting by Brighton Station the other day, and I hadn't heard of this, but there was just a load of bicycles.
Oh, the new cycle thing.
They're all in the news. Yeah. I'd not heard of it because it's been going on for years, apparently.
Yeah, a long time.
And of course, the tourists all just like, oh, okay, there's a load of new people riding around. Yeah, fair enough.
So,
I assume that's a thing we do now. Apparently, we're doing it.
Yeah.
I hadn't heard of it.
It's been going on for a while, mate.
I could imagine you do the same thing in New Orleans. It's a similar thing.
Well, the thing, like
we do that in April.
The Mardi Gras. That obviously it's famous in New Orleans or New Orleans. But they do it in all of the conurbations across Louisiana. It's not just a New Orleans thing. They do it in places like Houma and Baton Rouge and stuff. It's just it's very famous. Like obviously the biggest ones in New Orleans. So,
well, I mean, I think that's got a heavy component with the sort of African element, hasn't it? Because it's a bit like the Notting Hill Festival. Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying they're the same thing, but I imagine it's got that similar component. Yeah. I don't know if you've ever seen Treme, but it's heavily
impossible to find online.
Is it?
I've tried to find it about 100 times because it's done by the people who did The Wire, and it's got Bunk in it.
Yes, playing a Randy, not a trumpeter. What's the one? Trombonist.
You're a trombonist.
Yeah, and he makes some sleazy comment about, do you know what we call this out boom? Well, he's getting up to some business.
So, this is exciting. The last sentence is very exciting. Are you ready? I'm
all ears.
Have you tied your eyebrows down so they don't fly upwards?
Let me just get my plush loop.
So, of all the strange things living across the south of the state, like, you ready? The Grunch and the Honey Island Swamp Monster.
Whoa! All right, hang on a minute. We've got poses. So the Grunch sounds like a knockoff version of the Grinch.
Yeah, or
to avoid copyright. Just enough,
like a cereal, like a monster for a type of cereal.
One of the other ones sounds like the Honey Nut Monster.
Well, maybe they're both. So the Honey Island Swamp Monster. So Honey Monster and the Grunch, who is it just sounds like two cereal spokes monsters.
It was a really twee 90s band. Used to do stuff.
Honey Island Swamp Monster.
Sixpence None the Richer.
Honey Island Swamp Monster used to play grunge music. It was like grunge music, but they used like washboards and those
distorted loops
and those
loop with a fuzz pedal
and those wash basin bass things.
Oh god, yeah.
Yeah, and the blowing bottles. With the lights down, it's the stage. Something like that. So they sound like they're worth a look.
So what? You're gonna have to go into that a little bit more, Chris. So what? The Grunch. So what's the Grunch?
Oh, I've not looked up what these are, but I'll do it now. I've just got Louisiana Crunch Cake.
Fair enough.
Oh, no, that's because I've written Crunch.
Do you reckon Jim Carrey's ever played a Luke Garou?
I've heard that he was going to be playing the Luke Garou hunter to James Corden's Luke Garou in an upcoming Christmas film, which sounds really good. I think Mike Myers wrote it.
That sounds amazing. Put Nick Cave in those roles and watch it.
Nick Cave or Nick Cage?
Himself. Actually, yeah, Nick Cave and Nick Cage.
Nick Cave versus Nick Cage. Yeah, there's a meeting of two worlds there.
Both, actually.
So I can't find anything about this Grunch character. And
we'll research him later. We'll come back to.
What was the other one?
Honey Islands or something.
Honey Island Swamp Monster, known as the Cajun Sasquatch.
Ooh.
It's an ape-like humanoid cryptid creature similar to descriptions of Bigfoot, purported to inhabit the Honey Island swamp in St. Tammany Parish, Louisiana. It has become part of Louisiana folklore, with many swamp tour companies in the area capitalising on its alleged existence. Oh, what a surprise.
See, I reckon that's just Bigfoot's got them fucking sick and tired of getting hunted down. He didn't ask to be famous, did he?
No.
It's a bit different. Just leave him alone. And he's like, I'll go off to Louisiana. At least it'll be a bit warmer.
Oh, Lizard Man of Scape or Swamp. God, we've hit a rich vein here. Swamp.
Oh, well, yeah, let's save these. We clearly need to get into some
first mention
Cajun cryptozoology.
Yeah, just do a whole series on Cajun stuff.
Should we just start a cryptozoology podcast?
It's pretty much what this is becoming.
It's heading that way anyway. And then we can just, lose any semblance of facts. Well, what is fact anyway?
It's just...
if you read David Hume, then, I can't prove any of it.
Yeah.
So that your pipe and smoke it, Dr. Fauci.
I think facts are just a blanket for the ignorant. you can
really, when you think about it philosophically enough.
You can quote me on that. That might be my new catchphrase.
I mean, I and nobody else will, but thank you for the invite.
Okay, so I'm going to have... Native American stories. There's also a Native American story of the Rougarou. This version varies from being a Bigfoot legend to resemble something more like a Wendigo. I don't know what that is.
I've heard of a Wendigo. He's again, it's a bit like an ape man, isn't it? Or it's like a hairy fella. Didn't we come across Wendigos in one of our earlier episodes?
A Wendigo is a mythical creature or evil spirit which originates from the folklore of the First Nations based in and around the East Coast forests of Canada, the Great Plains region of the United States. Yeah, I don't think we've mentioned it before. But yes, but it looks kind of like a deer. It's like got a deer head. Seems to, according to the images.
Yeah. I can't remember. We did I've got a vague recollection. We did some like otter.
Oh yeah,
monster or something.
Yeah, that's what the one.
I think the Wendigo came up then.
The Kushchaka.
Okay.
That's the otter one, because it sounds. I remember it sounds like Bush Tucker.
He's a good fella.
He's lovely. So there's been some dispute whether or not this myth is actually related to the French Louisiana Rougarou ones. It sounds like they kind of tag it in.
It might be a bit of an amalgamation. Yeah, it's a bit like in South America, you get kind of like things like the Day of the Dead. You get the sort of the Christian mythology sort of blending in with the sort of local religion, don't you?
Yeah. So you've got the French.
So the folklore, I'm sure, it sort of blends in, sort of the African and the Native American and the
very much like
French mythology all kind of blending together.
So a lot of the stuff in the Americas. So like with EBC, El Basilico Chilotto. That was a mixture of medieval Spanish and native peoples, wasn't it? And so this one seems to be they've kind of mixed in the werewolf from France with some native stuff as well. Right, Rougarou sightings. Some good pictures there, Neil. Oh, and a YouTube thing.
So have we got any physical evidence, like the man?
Well, there are some.
Because I'll be honest with you, there's a lack of commitment amongst our American colleagues to actually, citing these things.
Well, they'll get killed, don't they?
Good stories. Oh, that's true. Yeah. You come at the Wendigo, you'd best not miss. Well, I do remember there was a thing a few years back where some guys purported to actually kill a Bigfoot and had it in their freezer. I don't know what step 2 of that scam was supposed to be.
Yeah, no, I saw that. And it wasn't. And it was like...
Yeah, I don't know whether they just got a load of people to sign up to subscription or something. I don't know.
I think
obviously they were trying.
It was like...
It was a grifter ahoy, but I don't know quite.
Yeah, and it was something stupid. Like, it was like...
it's melted.
It was like a bear, and they'd put an ape mask on it or something like that.
Yeah, well, I think somebody examined some of the photos. And it was sort of probably
No, I think
hard to do, but
yeah,
that clearly looks like this animal.
it's a bear with an ape mask that they got off the internet.
That's the frozen leg of lamb, right?
But that's some sausages.
That's clearly a party wig you've bought from the pound store.
two eggs fries. Well, party wig, but one of those ones that you used to be able to get, probably still can, which is like made of strips of foil, but kind of like rainbow coloured.
The thing is, Chris, this is just what the experts say. So
yeah, well,
he believes them anymore. Why
would it have hair like that?
I think we've all heard enough of it.
So it can be camouflaged in rainbows.
Yeah, exactly. And also, it's good protein in case it needs an emergency snack. Stick one of its own eyes, and it's a delicious fried egg.
Rougarou sightings.
That's pretty. I mean, that's a great piece of
That's good. That's nature. Nature finds a way. No, I'm not gonna.
The yolk obviously means that they can see better in the yellow spectrum, which is better for hunting
like predator.
Yeah.
So I've got 4. That's on Pinterest. I'm struggling to find a lot of Rougarou sightings.
There doesn't seem to be too many anecdotes of people being attacked and stuff, does there?
No, but you've got to remember that the people living down in the bow mostly probably aren't on the internet. And, because it is very remote. So perhaps that's it.
So I don't know if you could hear that, Chris. I was just having a quick look at YouTube. Because there was a... could you hear that?
Not very loud.
No, okay.
There's 9 real sightings of the Rougarou on YouTube.
Well, just Tina Bragg's and Eyewitness just showed a photo, which really you couldn't see anything at all. But it looks like there has been a sighting for. Well, let's see what Scorpius has to say in the comments. For all the critics watching, know this: every legend fairy tale comes from somewhere, and each one contains a small grain of truth. Not everything in the world has been discovered, explained by science. So take a closer look at the facts instead of brushing it aside. Best to keep an open mind, because you just never know how true the legends may be. Well put, Scorpius.
Well done.
More in awe of heaven and earth than this has been dreamt of in your philosophy.
Wow.
That's the worst quoting of Shakespeare
ever. So, that's about it for the Rougarou, I think. There's an upsetting lack of people coming forward, but there's a lot about him, but a lot of it seems to be rehash of other stuff.
Have a quick look and see what's happened in Mississippi. I'll give you a sec. Well, we've got some photographic evidence.
See that really obvious fake with the black dog man walking?
So I don't know if you've watched any of that, Chris. Wait until you get to Billy Teague about 2 minutes.
You haven't sent me anything. Oh,
it's in the comments of YouTube. Let's see.
Oh, I sent you something in the comments of the meeting. Love this woman who constantly tries not to say "some bitch." Oh, spooky then. Very spooky. Did you see the picture I sent you of Rougarou caught in April 2014 from an aerial footage?
Yeah. Well, I can't really make anything out.
What do you mean? If you press play on the video,
okay,
and you can see it's kind of like does look like an outline of an ape man or something ish.
Consensus in the comments seems to be it's a dog man.
That's so cool. Thanks for passing that, posting that, Wes. It also looks like a stump squatch. Oh.
A hirsute beast was roaming the swamps of North Ascension. Okay, yeah. See.
It could be a stump or bush squatch. So there's lots of different squatches out there then. But to be fair, I am on the website Sasquatch Chronicles, so
you're going to get a lot of
squatching.
I mean, yeah. So interesting. He's been, Rougarou, he's been spotted as far away as Mississippi.
Well, that's only the next one up.
Yeah. Well, he's not going to go too far, is he?
No. It's rough terrain.
But some.
So we got some
mutilated cattle.
Yeah, so that's some
strange.
What do you think mutilated cattle's all about, Neil? Because that's a big thing in America, isn't it? And they look like they've had stuff surgically removed and that kind of thing, right?
I mean, that is odd because
they get that with the UFO stuff as well.
That's extremely. Yeah, well, I mean, there's a lot of that when they go invading abductions, isn't there? It's supposedly mutilated cattle. I don't know. I'm not sure what it is. It doesn't sound like just hoaxes, because that would be very weird, sociopathic kind of.
Yeah,
hoaxing.
I know, but it is weird, isn't it? The whole mutilated cattle thing, because.
I mean, I'd assume it's wild animals they're being attacked by.
But that's the thing. They kind of say that if you look at it, it doesn't look like wild animals because it looks like they've had, like it's been cut rather than torn and that kind of stuff. So, I mean, that is an odd mystery yet to be explained, I would say. Not that I necessarily think it's Rougarous or UFOs, but the whole cattle mutilation thing. What's it all about? Is it nutters?
It's entirely possible.
Yeah.
Stranger things have happened, but yeah.
Collective madness.
Who
knows, Neil? Certainly not us, because cattle mutilations, as far as I'm aware, are not urban legends. So be damned with them. So that's someone else could deal with that. So, Neil, shall we
Should
we look at the scores? So this one, there's a fair bit about the old Rougarou about. It seems to be increasing. It seems to be continuing now, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, you've seen some actual sightings, which is good.
Okay, Neil. So this week, I have in front of me 40 Mexican puzzle boxes, each of them with a different number inside, which I'll be selecting one of 10 each time at random, which will give you my score, hopefully invoking the ancient spirits of the Olmecs.
Well, we can only hope.
Okay, so Neil, spookiness.
So we've just seen the cattle mutilation. So that's the first thing I've seen that is a bit sort of generally creepy. Most of them, they seem to just be like, kind of like more party animals. Rougarous. I don't know that. I don't find werewolves intrinsically particularly scary, to be honest with you. Although they're probably a bit more terrifying than, I don't know, vampires. Or whatever.
Yeah, but if you lived out in the country.
No, this is true. And kind of like, I don't know whether it's, as we were saying before, kind of like your own sort of animalistic nature or just like wild animals and stuff out in the country, being attacked by animals. That would be, do you know what? I think if you're living out in sort of like this, in the bayou or whatever, that would be quite spooky, not being attacked by wild animals and stuff. And you're feeding all the other bits. I'm going to give this one a 7.
7. High score. I think that when you're in the middle of nowhere, oh, what's that noise? Oh, don't worry, it's just a house settling. That kind of stuff. Or is it a wolf? Or is it a Rougarou? Don't worry, I've put 13 things on the windows. Kind of being cut off and that kind of thing. Presumably slightly muddled mind because of all of the moonshine you've been drinking. The fact that when you're living in areas like that, there are there's alligators and stuff that can actually kill you, like quite easily, probably at the bottom of the garden. Do you know what I mean? And in kind of isolated communities, myths like this kind of build up, don't they? So I think it's fairly spooky. I don't know. I'm kind of torn with it. As such, I'm going to give it a 5. I'm torn with whether it's spooky or not. I can see how that could be spooky, but there's lots of stuff to be spooked about that's real. Do you know what I mean? Like,
I mean,
alligators,
your how much you do it in terms of everything else that sort of...
Okay, so believability. I mean, I'll always give things a bit of extra believability if it's out in the middle of nowhere, because there's always an outside chance that there's a higher mammal or something that we haven't discovered yet. And it's quite a vast area and difficult to get around. And a lot of it, people don't go in, just basically because you know, as a human, you can't because they're swamps. So that, and there's very few people. There's a large area of potentially habitable land that humans can't really get around. So there's a chance that something's out there. There's a few pictures and stuff. The people around there certainly seem to think it exists. Whether it be someone who didn't do Lent for 8 years or 7 years in a row or not, I'm not sure. But do you know what? I'm going to give it a 6 of believability.
Yeah, I'm quite. So I wasn't seeing much evidence, but then we've uncovered some late breaking news in our
breaking news.
So you look at that photo we've seen on that YouTube channel. There's been some animal mutilations, and who knows what might be lurking out and about. And I don't believe that it's Wolfman or it's being turned into there for not having given up chocolate for Lent or whatever it is that they're supposedly has caused this 7 Lents in a row. Because it never happened to me. I've not, as far as I'm aware, become.
Yeah, but the thing is,
maybe it's geographically distinct.
Yeah, but the thing is, right, the amount that every time we kind of talk about where it's come from, you turn it back on man, your own animal inside and all that kind of stuff. I'm starting to think that maybe you're the Rougarou and you go out. And you go,
well, exactly.
You go out there every now and then and just get up to all kinds of animalistic, can't.
I'm actually patient zero for the entire thing,
stuff in the swamps. So,
well, I was wandering around Louisiana. There was no MacDs around, so just jump on a cow, as I assume Desperate Dan would have done. Anyway, so. Believability, I think I'm interesting, intriguing. There's some things that you can't easily explain. So on that basis, I'm going to go in the middle and give this a 5.
5, okay. So reach. So I would say it's got quite a big reach because recently it's kind of kicked up a notch. It's in a lot of popular culture, TV shows, that kind of thing. There's shows like Monster Hunters where they go looking for it and that kind of stuff. So it's kind of, I mean, it's not up there with, it's a subset of werewolf, really. It's not up there with werewolf, like at the top table. But I mean, it's doing all right for itself. It seems to be marketing itself fairly well. It's been there.
It's got a nice Gallic twist,
it's been there.
Hasn't it?
It's been there for, it's...
We all got a bit tired of werewolf. It's just, it's brought a little bit of Gallic flair to it. And then, it's
been around for ages. I mean, it's essentially travelled over with the French people from Europe, and that goes back to early Renaissance, if not before, I would suggest. So it's got longevity. I mean, I would say that the Lougarou or Rougarou has been in Louisiana pretty much since settlers, not the First Nation people, but settlers kind of went there, really. They brought it with them. So I think it's got a decent reach. It's been on TV and stuff. It's been around for ages. I'm going to give that a 8 out of 10 for reach. Neil?
Well, it's. I wouldn't have been surprised. It's yet another myth that I hadn't actually heard of before. Obviously, werewolves and things I'd had, and I had heard as well. There was a beast. It was a similar. We were talking about this before we started the podcast, and we'll get into it on another one, I think. But there was a movie called Brotherhood of the Wolf where it was based on a sort of similar medieval monster. I think this was a much bigger, kind of like some creature that was roaming the French countryside and eating servants and things and what have you.
Eat the poor.
Yeah, pretty much. Never seems to be. Well, the aristocracy are all indoors.
Yeah, they got muskets.
Gilded furniture, aren't they? They're not going to get hunted down.
They got muskets and musketeers.
Hunting them. Exactly. So yeah, I think there's some, it seems like just having looked into it a little bit, there is a reasonable amount of reach around sort of around. Quite a few people live around it. It has quite a bit of reach
around
in amongst the Americas. Because it seems like it's been in quite a few sort of movies and things like this, and I wondered. It's obviously part of their sort of old French folklore as well.
It's been in Cajun Justice.
It's been around for quite a long time. Been in Cajun Justice, and that's everyone aspires to that. I'm hoping I'll get my own tail in there one day.
Get yourself a trailer in the swamp.
Hunt down the Herbert.
Why do they call him Neil Herbert? Because he lives out there on his own? No, that's just his name. That kind of thing.
Yeah. I don't mind what sort of mythology they make up for me. As long as I get a violent death at the end. I presumably one of the square-jawed heroes. But sympathetic as well, because then they're like, had to put them down for the good of the community. Yeah. But in some ways, wasn't he?
Wasn't he the community?
Yeah. Take that chance.
He was the soul of the community.
No one can judge whether that's right or wrong. Anyway, it's not like worldwide necessarily, but it's not one of the absolute up there ones, but it's kind of like it's been around for quite a long time. It feels like it's been in a lot of American culture, which obviously is very prevalent across the world, and then with a bit of French mixed in. So I'm gonna give it it's gonna be another one of my half points, I'm afraid. 6.5.
And narrative premise, Neil, I'll let you go first on that one.
Yeah, it's quite good actually, because it's kind of like, doing the loup-garou or fair loup-garou. That's going to be my new phrase. So I quite like that.
Oi. You do fair loup-garou. Fucking people.
Fucking loup-garou, you mug. It's there's not much in the way of background there, but it's kind of,
don't know.
No, I'm just thinking kind of like, because what's the is there
Catholicism?
A lot around there about
Lent.
Yeah, I suppose they've blended in a bunch of stuff around that, and it's
the greatest story ever told.
Yeah, I think there's. I'm going to give this one a reasonable score because I think there's a lot of potential here, and it kind of for me it sort of blends in the whole animalistic thing. So I'll call it like a good treatment, a good outline with good bones for being able to tell a bit of a story. So that's why I think it's got good narrative potential. I don't necessarily know that the narrative's there at the moment, but they've been able to hang their hat on a few different things like the Native American culture and the Catholic culture and so on and so forth. So I think there's the outlines for some good stories there. And also you're in Louisiana, which is kind of like, it's just interesting inherently, the sort of culture and stuff over there. So that's good location, good background. I'm going to give it a 7.
Nice high score. So although there isn't a narrative like there is with stuff with very strong narratives like the Pastelita, where it's very much, story, bang, bang, bang. I like the stuff around this. So I like the fact that it's Catholics trying to scare their kids. I like the fact that there's rules outlined. So you can't, if you say that you are one, you turn into it straight away in front of people and then you get killed, probably because people don't like them, or you just got to wait 101 days. It's an unusual one that you don't keep the curse or whatever forever. It's for less than a third of a year. So that's quite novel. I like the fact that you can trick it by putting 13 things outside your house and it goes, oh.
It gets confused.
I like that. That's
adorable.
Nice. It's from pre-Renaissance. It's moved over. It's kind of grown. It's been linked in with some Native American stuff. How much of a story can you have for a Wolfman or a whatever? It's not the Count of Monte Cristo, is it? But I like it. Don't know why. I just like it. I like it for the reasons I've said, despite the facts. Well, it hasn't got a strong narrative, but I like the premise. Let's put it that way. So I'm going to go 7 as well. So, overall, that gives it a pretty high 51.5 for the Rougarou.
Yeah, that felt like quite
very strong.
Nice.
Yeah, I enjoyed that one. That's a bit of cryptozoology. That's always good.
Yeah, I think that's what we're evolving into.
Well, I think it's just that a lot of it is cryptozoology. I mean, the thing is that, like, when you say urban legends, there's urban legends which are kind of like this, or myths. I mean, it's not urban, but it's like.
There's kind of like the back of the car kind of thing.
Or there's campfire stories, as I call them. The campfire stories aren't very interesting because they're just a story, like a spooky story, but there's no...
I like something with a genuine bit of folklore in it, and especially if some people have believed it at some point in the past or could believe
or do believe it now, like the Rougarou.
Rather than...
Stuff like that's cool. I'm not very much, the stories and stuff, they're just like, they're just made up stories that haven't happened. They're just horrible stories. So there's not really much to dive into there, is there?
No, exactly. Or like Saga Mouse, it's just, there's some limited evidence, but it could be, or it's just a grift. Well, the great thing is with good folklore is you can have all the you can have all the petals on the flower of the urban myth. You can have a grift.
I think Rougarou's a grift as well, because I know they do Rougarou tours. So, exactly. Why not? It's a pretty poor area. So why not? You've got a myth, and people like myths. You've got the internet, so you can get the myth out there. Why not say to people?
It's not about whether the story's true or not, Chris. It's about how
it's not about the getting there. It's about the adventure. Along the way. That's what life.
About the journey, not the destination. Any other cliches we can squeeze in?
No, that's I don't. Obviously, I'm an original thinker, so I don't know any cliches.
Well, that quote's going to come back and bite
it will before the end of the episode.
Well,
because I was going to say don't have nightmares. So. I am thinking of something to replace that with, but I'm going to keep it for now. So if you are near Houma and you decide to go to the Rougarou Festival and someone offers you some moonshine, try not to have nightmares. Neil, do you want to say anything?
I didn't realise you were going to get to that so quickly. So that's throwing me off balance. I'd if you find yourself, I mean, obviously, go and get involved in other aspects of your Louisiana culture. But by all means, I mean, I don't know. I think with our Rougarou here, it could be another one where it's a reasonably friendly little fella just wants to.
I think it
wants to party. I think we didn't really invoke this, but I think he's got a little bit of teamwork.
Do you? You see, I think the nice thing about something like this is that people who wouldn't ordinarily go to the backwaters of the bayous might go there to see the Rougarou Festival or to go on the tour or that kind of stuff. And it could actually be something which brings people together from different walks of life. So maybe the Rougarou is helping to heal our divided society.
It's just sort of like
glue that holds us together
behind some trees somewhere.
Right, like single tier.
Bit of a. Is that a grin on his canine face? We'll never know.
Single tear trickles down as he walks backwards into the scrub.
It took an animal to bring us all together in our common humanity, Chris.
That's beautiful.
Isn't that ironic? That was the cliche, isn't it?
So that's it from this week's Urban Legends. If you have any pictures of the Rougarou or want to suggest anything or whatever, or just get in touch, you can email us at urb.legend.pod@gmail.com. But for now, that is goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me.
See you next time on Urban Legends. Goodbye.
Yeah.